everyone and welcome to Travel Sticks, and specifically our visit to the Deanston distillery, which is a distillery that we visited on our own, so outside of the Rabbi's tour. Now before we go on, please like, share and subscribe, it really does help us out quite a bit.
They thought the angels came from heaven, had a little drink, and then in the morning they would brush their shadow against the side of the building as they left. It's a little nuisance of a fungus and it eats whiskey vapours.
Okay.
So, keeping the casks, as I say, keeps them water.
Now what's so special about the Deanston distillery, aside from that they have pretty good whiskey, or very good whiskey actually, is the part that is being described here. That is the fact that the Deanston distillery is the only distillery in Scotland that is fully self-sufficient in terms of the energy that it produces and uses, so it's not dependent on anyone else. And this is due to a on-site hydro energy facility, which you can see here, which is being explained by the tour guide. So aside from producing their own electricity, they naturally also make whiskey, pretty good whiskey at that. Now whiskey making starts with malting and grinding. So malting is essentially spreading out the barley and by mixing it with water and then spreading it out over a sort of a germination floor in which the barley is allowed to germinate, and that's the first step. After that, once it's dried, germinated and dried, it gets ground up via the machines that you can see here, and then obviously transported to the mash tuns, which you will see in a little bit.
This is what we call a 40th mill. One of the oldest mills in the world.
Now the mash tun is essentially where the ground barley is mixed with hot water, each time in 3 stages, and each stage is hotter. Here the quality of the water is super important, because that's where the starches go to sugar, and then let's say this sugary liquid is known as wort, and that is essentially the basis for the whole process. After that, the fermentation process starts by cooling, let's say, the wort down and adding yeast, and then obviously the natural fermentation process starts and the alcohol starts being made. Now unfortunately the part that we don't have any video on is the distillation process, but suffice to say that here essentially the liquid is separated, so they are separating the alcohol from the water and all other residues. And then, let's say, the distillate is known as the lone wine, containing about 20% alcohol by volume, and then it gets distillated at least 2 times, sometimes more, it depends. And then that's how essentially it turns into whiskey over time, before naturally the last part, which is the maturing process, which you see here, in which the whiskey is stored in casks and then left to mature over a certain period of time. Now after the tour we obviously did a whiskey tasting. Here you can see an overview of all the whiskies that were available. We tried 3, being the 12-year-old, the Virgin Oak and the 18-year-old, and our personal favorite was the Virgin Oak, given that it was a nice combination between a little bit of sourness, but that's like light sweetiness and light spice, as you can see on the board. So naturally we also took a bottle home, and with that being said, we hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to go into the comments, and we'll see you on the next one.